Tonight, remembering the life and legacy of the late Brian Mulroney.
I am not afraid to inflict prosperity on Newfoundland and Labrador.
The former Prime Minister and the key role he played in the province's oil fortunes.
Newfoundland and Labrador doesn't have the prosperity it does today without the hands of Brian Mulroney all over our economy.
They're here for the excitement and the speed and everything else, and I think majority of them are probably want to finish the race.
Canes Quest racers and fans are getting ready for the start of the Cross Labrador Mega Race on Sunday. We'll take you to the scene in Labrador West.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. A complicated legal issue is slowing down the RCMP investigation of a fatal explosion at the Come By Chance refinery. One worker was killed in the workplace incident back in 2022, and now CBC News has learned the Mounties haven't been able to examine potential evidence they seized a year ago. Rob Antle has the details.
This was the scene 18 months ago. A scramble to get injured workers to hospital after a flash fire at the Brea Renewable Fuels refinery in Come By Chance. 7 workers were seriously injured. Another, Sean Peddle of Clarenville, later died at hospital. In early 2023, the RCMP launched an investigation into possible criminal negligence causing death and bodily harm. They executed search warrants at the refinery a year ago. No charges have been laid, and a legal issue is slowing down the RCMP investigation. An investigator filed an affidavit at provincial court describing what's going on. There is currently a claim of solicitor-client privilege attached to many of the exhibits seized, and this matter is making its way through the courts. Due to the solicitor-client privilege claim, many of the items seized have not been reviewed or analyzed at this time. It's a tangly legal dispute, so tangly that it's ended up here at Supreme Court, where a judge will determine whether those seized items should be off-limits to investigators. The details of that Supreme Court proceeding are covered by a sweeping publication ban and will be heard behind closed doors. Brea Renewable Fuels issued this statement to CBC News. We are appreciative of the Crown's efforts to date concerning important procedural matters related to the investigation. As this matter is before the courts, we are not able to speak further on this matter. Meanwhile, Corporal Stephen Hatch said in an email to CBC News that the solicitor-client privilege claim has been asserted on much of the evidence seized by the RCMP. The investigative team has taken steps to safeguard this evidence until this claim makes its way through the court and a determination is made. Although this determination is expected to be a lengthy process and will likely impede the speed of the investigation, investigators remain committed. Court filings don't provide details of what the Mounties seized last year, and it's also not clear when the privilege issue might be resolved. Rob Antle, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, Cougar Helicopters has resumed flights to and from Newfoundland's offshore after grounding their helicopters in the wake of a Sikorsky crash off the coast of Norway. The Sikorsky S-92 was carrying 6 people when it crashed into the North Sea while on a search and rescue training run. One Equinor employee was killed and the 5 others were injured. The aircraft is the same model Cougar Helicopters uses to bring workers to Newfoundland's offshore oil rigs. Well, people across the country are remembering former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney for his bold moves, some successes, some failures, and the almost 10 years he led the federal government from 1984 to 1993. But in this province, he's remembered for his role in the growth of the offshore oil industry. Here Now's Mark Quinn reports.
Well, For most of Canada, Brian Mulroney's name brings to mind the U.S. Free Trade Agreement, support for anti-apartheid forces in South Africa, and the introduction of the Federal Goods and Services Tax, the GST. Some are also recalling his role in the Airbus scandal. But in Newfoundland and Labrador, he's most often remembered for something else.
Mr. Mulroney was one of the greatest prime minister the country has had when it comes to treating Newfoundland and Labrador as an equal partner in Confederation.
As Prime Minister, Mulroney signed the Atlantic Accord in 1985, an agreement with Canada that allowed Newfoundland and Labrador to reap the benefits of offshore oil.
I am not afraid to inflict prosperity on Newfoundland and Labrador.
And he certainly did that for 4 decades when you think of the billions and billions of dollars that we have been able to accrue as a result of the Atlantic Accord that gave us that joint management and that brought the wealth, the jobs, and all the technology transfers and all of those things that came with it. You know, that's, I think, a legacy that everyone in the province is continuing to enjoy.
Mulroney continued to be a friend to this province long after he retired, returning to St. John's in 2020 to eulogize John Crosbie, who served in his federal cabinet.
Indomitable defender of the people of Newfoundland and Labrador, and a proud Canadian who served our country with high distinction, unblemished integrity, and unprecedented achievement.
A family spokesperson said Mulroney died surrounded by his family in a Palm Beach, Florida hospital, where he'd been staying since a recent fall. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
One of 2 St. John's neighbors accused of committing sexual crimes against minors is considering a guilty plea. 81-year-old Bruce Escott appeared in court by video from the jail in Bishops Falls this morning. His lawyer told the judge they're reviewing the best offer from the Crown. Escott is facing more than a dozen charges, one of them an alleged sexual assault that dates back to 1995. His co-accused, Tony Humby, is heading to trial this summer. Escott should be back in court at the end of the month. And staying in the courtroom, the lawyer representing an accused sexual predator says she still hasn't reviewed all the evidence against her client. 32-year-old Marcus Hicks is facing nearly 100 charges, among them sexual assault, sexual pornography offenses, and child luring. Police allege Hicks, a high school teacher and volleyball coach, used aliases and fake identities on social media to commit some of his crimes. In court today, his lawyer said the Crown has not yet handed over all the evidence, and until that happens, she says he can't enter a plea. However, she said she anticipates Hicks will plead not guilty.
Well, depending on where you are across the province, today March is certainly coming in like a lion. But where did this popular folklore come from? There are a few origins. But according to the Farmer's Almanac, there was a strong ancestral belief in balance in both life and the weather. So March is a month where we can see a lot of changes, as you know, in the weather. And that is certainly true for Newfoundland and Labrador, with spring temperatures one day and then a snowstorm the next. So the belief was that if the month came in like a roaring lion, it should go out like a gentle lamb. Now, there also is another connection, an astronomical connection to what constellations appear in the March sky. So March starts with the Leo, the lion, rising in the east and ends the month with Aries, the lamb or ram, setting in the west. So unfortunately, even though the lion is roaring today in parts of the province, there is definitely no guarantee that it will end like a gentle lamb. But I can guarantee you that some of us will see some sun. We'll get into the forecast in a little bit.
Very interesting. Thank you, Ashley. Well, for a Gander family, sports plays a pivotal role in the household, but it's just as much about bonding as it is about being active. Here Now's Troy Turner brings us this story from the Newfoundland and Labrador Winter Games.
Sport is a family affair for the Kennedys. It's a passion and a pastime, a way to stay active and a way to come together.
My dad tells me stories, and my mom too, she was a great athlete too. It tells me stories of waking up on early mornings, having to do everything for early morning practice, had to go outside, shovel the driveway, clear the car off, make breakfast, and then wake his dad up so he could drive.
Jonah and Claire are multi-sport athletes who play with the host basketball teams at the Newfoundland and Labrador Winter Games. Dad Brian is coaching the boys team, and Mom Terry is their #1 fan. Sport is in their blood.
It helps us connect a lot better, it gives us something to talk about, and it helps us connect as a family better.
It's awesome to be able to have Claire and Jonah playing sports together and being here at the games and experiencing that together.
Brian has been active his whole life and was happy to introduce his kids to sports, but it's not force-fed. He and his wife follow their kids' lead.
When they were younger, we enrolled them in minor sports, and then it was really up to them whether they wanted to take the ball and run with it. So once they showed the interest, then we just followed them.
My dad coaching, that's a great bonding experience. Like, I'm sure later, my mom's gonna teach me how to do things. We're gonna and getting to teach my sister too. That's really, it's a great bonding, and it's making us closer.
I think it helps us connect a lot, and we can talk about it, and it's really, I don't know, I just enjoy having to talk to them about sport.
The kids are making the most of their games experience.
I like hanging out with my team, and someone brought a mini basketball net too, which is super fun to play, and the nights and being an athlete, those was really fun.
It's awesome. So staying with your friends, joking around until you fall asleep, playing some competitive ball. It's a great experience. It's such a unique experience for the athletes. They don't get it in anything they do, so it was one of the reasons why I really encouraged Jonah and Claire to become involved in the Winter Games. Definitely a core memory. I will always remember it. It's going to be, whether thinking back on childhood, this is going to be one of those memories that I'm going to recall. Being able to look back at my dad and remember when I said something or did something, and he's going to have a good chuckle, and that's going to be a great memory.
What's next for this family? Well, there will be sports and more sports, which means more family time and more bonding for the Kennedy family. The kids will be off to their respective hockey provincials soon, and after that there will be some more spring hockey, followed by summer sports, which include soccer and baseball and whatever else the kids want to try their hand at. Troy Turner, CBC News, Gander.
The Winter Games wrap up this weekend in Gander. Some of the best memories and selfies of these games have come courtesy of two very recognizable characters, Commander Gander and Blaze, the unmissable mascots who are drawing crowds everywhere they turn up, just as long as they can fit through the doorway. CBC's Sherry Wheeler met the guys behind the masks.
Does Commander Gander have any signature moves?
Whatever I'm feeling, they come to me when I get in that outfit. If it's really excited, I can get jumpy, I can boogie. But if it's low-key and I can just stay in place and just side to side, just so the bird is still cheerful, still active, that's what it's all about. Hi, my name is Marshall Hancock, and I've been Commander Gander for 6 months.
Hi, my name is Joseph Scott. I'm Blaze the mascot, and what everyone's calling the torch, and that Blaze is the mascot for the Winter Games. It's really tall. So I'm 6'2" or something. With the costume, it's 9 feet tall. So I can't make it through doors. And up. Mom's my handler, so I've got to bend over backwards and try to squeeze through the doors.
Who is Commander Gander?
Commander Gander is the mascot of Gander. He is a 6 or 7 foot tall bird that goes around to the community events to spread positivity and I guess shine a light on good things happening in the community.
What's it like to be inside that giant costume?
Very, very warm, but it's a lot of fun because you get to see a lot of people and people are very, very excited to see the bird.
I've had a really good time and I hope all the other volunteers have had a really good time. It's really fun and now I've got a cool story to tell people that I was Blaze.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, staying with some winter sports, Canes Quest racers are gathering now for a pre-race banquet, but they may also be thrown a curveball. Organizers say weather may force them to change this year's race course. Weather is one of the many things on the competitors' minds ahead of the epic snowmobile race. Our Jeremy Eaton caught up with some of them today. He even met a musician who's been inspired by the race.
Like no other race in this world. We ran out of miles to snowmobile in Saskatchewan and Alberta, so we thought you've got lots more miles to do over here, so here we are. Well, I better get trying this thing before I hit 70, so that's what I'm doing here. Actually, it's a bucket list thing, and before I get too old, I better give it a kick at the cat here, yeah.
All of them wanting to torture themselves, testing your body mind, testing your mechanical skills and getting one up on some of your buddies.
Trophy, eh? Yeah, just a trophy. I'm not here for the money.
What keeps you coming back to keep on doing these races?
Well, I haven't won it yet, and it's a bit addicting.
Across the big land, my journey's almost done.
Not concerned with the conditions right now as they are, because I know the ice is from here to Goose Bay is good, and getting to the south coast might be a bit tricky, but there's a trail that we're going to be using. Well, not a groomed trail, but we have a path to follow, right?
Optimistic. At the same time, also, I think most riders are probably nervous because there's a lot of concerns going around about the weather conditions all over Labrador. So I think people are a little concerned if we're going to continue, or and if we do, how far are we going to go?
This year will be not much snow, but the same conditions, the same will be last year, I think. Yes, every time I race, I'm kind of nervous when I start a race. But this year, I'm kind of more nervous. I'm racing with my son now, you know. I don't want my son to get hurt in the middle of the race.
We're running shorter machines. It might actually work in our favor, but there might be a bit of carnage. I'd say there's going to be a lot of busted up machines this year, but it's part of Canes Quest.
Keep the throttle down.
Well, we've definitely got some cold temperatures. We've got some snow squalls on the go right now for the west coast, south coast, and parts of the Avalon. I'll talk about how long those are going to stick around and what the weekend entails. I'll be right back.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. The bonus prize deadline is midnight, Friday, April 12th. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Well, Ashley, today was one of those days where truly you didn't know from minute to minute what you were going to see when you looked out the window. 1 minute it's sunshine and then it's a snow squall. It was incredible how quickly it changed.
Yeah, this is the second time we've seen some significant snow squalls this winter for sure, and we can thank this Arctic air for that. Not a whole lot happening on the radar for most of the province, except those snow squalls, but you can definitely see just how large this Arctic air is and how far south it is. Basically, all of Atlantic Canada is currently sitting under that Arctic air. So that is leading to a significant drop in temperatures from where we were sitting yesterday. Take a look at this, 25 degrees colder right now in Cartwright than it was yesterday, 19 degrees in Badger and 16 degrees in St. John. So very significant. The only place that's seeing temperatures warmer than yesterday is Lab City at 3 degrees warmer, but you're still sitting in the minus 20s. That's your current temperature with wind chill into the minus 30s. Happy Valley, Goose Bay and towards the coast, your temperatures are well into the minus teens tonight, and our temperatures across the island are sitting anywhere from minus 7 to minus 11. And really, this is going to continue as we head through the night tonight. That cold air leading to the potential for the development of snow squalls, certainly seeing that right now. Corner Brook is under a snow squall warning, as well as the northern, most of the Avalon, except the southeast, as well as the Burin Peninsula. Otherwise, most areas are just in that snow squall watch. So snow squalls by nature are very variable. They tend to be sudden onset with intense bursts of snow and wind, and windy conditions leading to whiteout conditions as well. And typically we see some rapidly deteriorating roads, and we're going to continue to see that as we head through the night tonight. If we take a look at the current radar picture, we can see lots of squalls on the go for the west coast and quite a few squalls on the go across the Avalon. Now they're all across the Burin Peninsula as well, but you just can't see them. They're flying under the radar at the moment. But like I said, we're going to continue to see that. You can see some of those squalls showing up on northern portions of the Burin Peninsula. But again, expecting these squalls, you can see just how linear these squalls are, which is why you tend to drive in and out of them. And like I said, we'll continue through the night tonight. So the Future Tracker doing a good job at showing us that. And other than the squalls, there's really not a whole lot to talk about weather-wise tonight. We should actually see some clearing skies through parts of central. Some of these flurries may make their way towards, say, Grand Falls, Windsor, but that's about it. And then up across Labrador, you're looking at the chance of a few flurries. But for the most part, it is just going to be a chilly night tonight with your temperatures into the minus teens or minus 20s. Wind chill still quite significant. Westerly winds will be gusting anywhere to 40 to 60 kilometers per hour, which will lead to wind chills in the minus 30s and 40s. And then across the island between minus 8 and minus 11, even minus 14 for the northern peninsula tonight. And again, those gusty westerly winds, which is what's helping drive these snow squalls. As we head into tomorrow morning, we actually should see the potential for snow squalls end with the winds shifting a little bit, which will be nice, but that means we've got a pretty nice afternoon on tap. Oh, we could pick up somewhere between 10 to as much as 15 centimeters in some of those persistent squalls, but like I said, that should end by the time we get into the morning hours with sunshine through the afternoon. Some flurries will work their way across Labrador as the day goes on towards the coast as you get into the evening hours. And eventually we're going to see some more cloud cover move back in as a little disturbance moves in on Sunday morning. And this one could bring some rain as well, because it is going to bring some mild temperatures. Temperatures tomorrow should hover near or just below zero across a good chunk of the island. Again, those westerly winds are going to stick around anywhere from 30 to 60 kilometers per hour. Expect those winds to ease as the day goes on. We likely see temperatures just above zero for the southwest as we see that warmer air edge in. And then across Labrador, you're looking at your temperatures climbing back up into the minus single digits by the time we get into tomorrow afternoon, except in northern Labrador. Again, you are going to hang on to those minus teens, but we are looking at that drop in temperatures coming yet again. We'll talk about that when I come back.
Hi everybody, I'm Jane Adey, host of Land and Sea. We have a brand new show coming up this Sunday. We're going to take you here to VOWR, the voice of Wesley Radio. This is just part of their vast collection of music. This is the oldest radio station in Newfoundland and Labrador, and this year they're marking 100 years on the air.
How did we get underway on?
We have volunteers from all walks of life. And the gentlemen and ladies, they come in there and they give their all when they come in to do their programs. Obviously, they love music or they wouldn't be here.
There's definitely been a change with VOWR, that it grows with the music and the times that change, and I listen a lot now, actually. It's most of my day. I love to hear what the other people do on their shows, and it's just a really fun environment.
We'll find out how the station started and why it's had such a loyal following for a century. You'll hear from some of the fans of VOWR, and you'll meet some of the 50 volunteers like Kay Donovan, who's on the air here right now. So that's coming up on 100 Years of Radio. Tune in this Sunday at 11:30. That's 11 o'clock in Labrador, or you can always see it on Monday right after Here and Now.
He said, well, Prime Minister, I'm going to need your help. I'm going to ask you to come with me to Newfoundland and speak to the good people of Newfoundland, because they have never heard of anything so stupid in their entire lives.
Well, just ahead, more on the late Brian Mulroney's legacy here in Newfoundland and Labrador.
There are many, many people across the country tonight who are reeling and feeling a deep absence. He was committed to this country, loved it with all his heart, and served it for many, many years in many different ways.
Well, that's Justin Trudeau paying tribute to the life and legacy of former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney. Mulroney was known for forging close ties with political leaders across Canada and in the United States. The flag atop the Peace Tower is now flying at half-mast. Mulroney died yesterday with his family by his side. He was 84. A state funeral will be held later this month. Brian Mulroney leaves a long-lasting legacy here in Newfoundland and Labrador, particularly in laying the groundwork for the province's offshore oil industry. I spoke with Tim Powers earlier today. He's a political commentator, and he's also the cousin of the late John Crosbie, a political adversary who soon became one of Mulroney's closest allies.
Newfoundland and Labrador doesn't have the prosperity it does today without the hands of Brian Mulroney all over our economy. He was a partner with and strong supporter of John Crosbie for bringing and revitalizing, invigorating, you pick the word, the Newfoundland and Labrador offshore oil industry. The Atlantic Accord is a Brian Mulroney, John Crosbie creation. And we wouldn't be the province we are today without that. And, you know, it could have been very easy for Brian Mulroney as somebody who was initially a political opponent of John Crosbie's, running against each other in the 1983 PC leadership race, to say no. But that wasn't Brian Mulroney. He and Mr. Crosbie became partners. And Mr. Mulroney made sure that the offshore with Mr. Crosbie was a reality for the province. Jane Crosbie tells the story about how the vote in June 1983, she said to John, I'm going to be sleeping with the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party tonight, of course, meaning that would be John. The next morning, they wake up and John says, how was it sleeping with Brian Mulroney last night? Because, of course, Mr. Mulroney won. And Mr. Mulroney used to love that story as well, too. And Jane loved telling it. But the Mulroneys and the Crosbies became very tight. I mean, look, Mr. Mulroney traveled out. He was in his early 80s then to speak at Mr. Crosbie's funeral.
Indomitable defender of the people of Newfoundland and Labrador, and a proud Canadian who served our country with high distinction, unblemished integrity, and unprecedented achievement. No one could ask for more.
Brian Mulroney's hand in helping the fishery in its tougher period when John Crosbie had to close the fishery, Northern Cod moratorium, it wasn't easy for him to go to the federal cabinet and say, I need assistance for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, because there were some in that cabinet who were still mad at then Newfoundland Premier Clyde Wells for the position he had taken on Meech Lake. But Brian Mulroney said, none of that. We're going to get this done. The people of Newfoundland and Labrador deserve that. Mulroney did things like Meech Lake, like Charlottetown, like the free trade agreement that were not popular in the day. GST, can you imagine today a prime minister bringing in a goods and services tax? It would not happen. Look at what's happening in this current political environment. It's about getting rid of a carbon pricing tax that people somehow find odious. So those things wouldn't happen today, but you can't be afraid to be bold, and you can't be afraid to step outside the polls, says somebody who owns a polling company. he was preparing to speak at a fundraiser for Chess Crosby. And one of the central issues was the state of White Rose. And so we were on the phone, and, you know, you couldn't miss his distinct voice. And we're having a chat. And boy, I thought I was home at the kitchen table for a moment, because halfway through the conversation, he stops talking to me and he says, "Oh, are you okay? You got a ride? Are you okay to go home?" And he was talking to this person who was helping him and Mrs. Mulroney. And I thought, geez, I could have been at my own kitchen table. I mean, here's the former prime minister wanting to make sure this person who was helping them got a ride home. I mean, that said a lot. There's lots of other Mulroney stories and you know, that involve a lot of four-letter words and tall tales, but that was his character, his persona. But kind and decent, and I'll never forget that conversation. "You got a ride home?"
Great story. A lot of fond memories there for sure. Well, in other news, February ended on a leap day this year, a rare day on the calendar that also happened to be Rare Disease Day. And that's by design, because it means every 4 years, Rare Disease Day also falls on the rarest of days. This province has a high rate of rare genetic disorders, and this expert says it can take as long as 7 or 8 years for someone to get a diagnosis.
Rare diseases, especially rare genetic diseases, that encompasses all health conditions. So things like metabolic conditions, which impacts how your body breaks down food, neurological conditions, which impacts your muscles and your brain, things like developmental conditions, cancers, cardiac conditions. So really, rare disease can affect all health systems, especially genetic rare disease. And in Newfoundland specifically, we do come from a smaller, what we call founder population. So some particular variants have been more common here over time and have persisted and have led to Newfoundland having a unique genetic makeup and a higher rate of certain genetic and rare diseases here specifically.
Can you talk about some of those diseases? What are some of those rare diseases that show up here more often?
Yeah, so one of them that we see in the news a lot is the sudden death condition or arrhythmogenic cardiomyopathy. And so that is more common in Newfoundland populations and was first discovered here. There's definitely things like neurological conditions like hereditary autonomic sensory neuropathy, or we call it HSAN, which has been certain unique genetic variants have been found here. Things like Batten's disease, which is another childhood neurological condition, is more common in Newfoundland specifically. I think there's about 21 or 22 conditions where the genetic basis was identified by studying Newfoundland populations specifically.
And what constitutes a rare disease?
A rare disease is something that affects less than 1 in 2,000 people. So a lot of those, 72% of rare diseases are genetic. And of course, all those come through our department at the genetics program.
Can you talk about someone who has a rare disease, what they go through?
Yeah, it's often a very isolating journey. In genetics, we call it a diagnostic odyssey, and that can last for 7 to 8 years. And that's when somebody has maybe multiple health features or a certain health feature that's going on, and specialists can't find a reason as to why it's happening or connect their health features. And then they often come through genetics and have genetic testing and maybe finally get an answer. And they could be, 1 out of 10 in the world that we've identified so far. They could be 1 out of 500. They could be 1 out of 3,000. So we really just, help connect them to supports that might be specific to their condition. There might be certain treatment management plans that can be helpful if we identify them to have a genetic condition. And just having that answer a lot of times for a lot of people is so helpful.
Can you talk about why it's important to raise awareness about rare diseases?
Yeah, and so rare diseases, like I said, you could be 1 out of 10 that we know of in the world. But when you put them all together, it's about 5% of our population, or 300 million people. And so that's a lot of people affected with rare diseases. So just raising awareness that, this actually does affect a large portion of our population, and they deserve support, recognition, equitable access to health care, and just letting other people know that this population does exist. It's quite challenging having a rare disease, but there can also be a lot of resiliency with that as well. So I think the first step is, letting other people know that there's rare diseases out there so that they can educate themselves and start advocating for people in their lives and communities as well.
Some playwrights in St. John's are putting a new spin on an old classic this Sunday. Their version of Alice in Wonderland is seen through a neurodiverse sort of looking glass. And that's because, as you're about to see, many of the characters in this Wonderland have autism.
Your headphones look so cool, Your Grace. What are you listening to? Nothing. They are noise-canceling headphones.
So the play that we're doing a preview of today is called Understanding Wonderland. Rewriting Alice in Wonderland was a really interesting experience too. We kind of looked at it like, okay, here are all the characters, the White Rabbit, Mad Hatter, da-da-da. What sort of autism traits would they possibly have? We kind of looked at the way they behaved and how it might relate to autism. The White Rabbit, for example, he's very, I'm late for a very important date. If he's late for something, that will throw his brain into a meltdown, and that's one of the traits of autism that I embody, actually. So that's one way that he relates to me. So we kind of looked at it that way. What are the ways that autism affects me and my friends, and how could we put that into Wonderland?
What? You have autism? But you're a girl.
I think a lot of people, especially maybe around my age and older, have this perception of what autism is. And it's a very shallow perception. I think the script is so clever and presents an education on autism in such a unique way, using a story we all know, but sort of flipping it on its side.
Duchess Petunia Bucket? It's pronounced bouquet. Oh, I'm sorry, Duchess Bouquet.
My role for this play is Duchess Petunia Bucket, but she insists it's pronounced bouquet. And I am a duchess who lives in a very fancy house, and I have a butler named Robin, played by Patrick Penny. And I am on the autism spectrum, my character is. And she has really sensitive ears, and she carries around noise-canceling headphones.
All the cheering from the audience and Rabbit's constant screams are too loud for me to tolerate. My ears are very rare and extra special.
People need to be more educated and aware about people like me and Charlotte and Patrick, and there needs to be more empathy and understanding of people like us. And I just really hope that in seeing this show, kids especially will understand, oh, that person's not weird after all. Their brain is just a little extra special. And hopefully it will bring more kindness and less bullying.
Well, bad news for anyone hoping to get a last-minute ticket to the show. Sunday's production of Understanding Wonderland and Other Neuro-Affirming Stories has sold out. The group behind that performance is called Neurodynamic Theatrics. Hope you have a great show on Sunday. Team Canada skip Brad Guzzu and the Buys are back at the Brier. The defending champions hope to score a record 6th win at the 2024 Brier in Regina, Saskatchewan. Guzzu says the team hasn't played as much this season. They were even snowed out of their last practice. He says the first couple of games at any big event present a challenge, let alone when you're representing Team Canada.
I think it's harder because of what we have here. Like wearing the Maple Leaf, having Team Canada, I think every team kind of guns for you and plays a little bit better, because if they have a bad week but they beat Team Canada, it ends up being a good week. So you know you're going to get everybody's best game, or at least their 100% focus. I guess the easier side is we've been here so much and we know what to expect when we get to the end of the week, and when you play that game where you're the only sheet out on the ice, we've had that feeling so many times that we're used to it. I'm not too concerned about, it being the 6th or 3rd in a row or anything like that. I just love winning the Brier. It's the best teams in Canada. It's the biggest event of the year, the most prestigious event that we play in throughout the year. So to win it, it's a cool feeling, and it's just so much fun. And I love playing in those pressure situations at the end of the week. So hopefully we can get there, get a couple breaks, and experience that feeling once again.
VOWR has been broadcasting since 1924 and still going strong. Watch 100 Years of Radio, Sunday at 11:30 and Monday at 7.
Well, it's Friday, so let's find out who's celebrating. Happy 57th wedding anniversary to Frank and Diane Manston of Labrador City. Congratulations to Betty and Wilbur Moss of Gander. They're celebrating 68 years of marriage. Wishing Watson and Eliza Vivian a happy 72nd anniversary. They're from Hare Bay and now live in Gander. Happy 53rd anniversary to Bernadette and Robert Vincent of St. John's. Congratulations to Kevin and Trish O'Toole from Dunnville. They're marking 50 years together. Happy 67th anniversary today to Harry and Shirley LeDrew of Lawrencetown. Best wishes to Joe and Maureen Organ from Ramia. They're celebrating their 50th anniversary. Happy 59th anniversary to Stan and Madeline Knoll from Carbonear. Congratulations to Calvin and Annie Poole of St. Louis, Labrador on your 56th anniversary. Happy 56th anniversary also to Leonard and Malvina Party of Buren. Happy anniversary to Lloyd and Jesse Piercy of Roach's Line, who are celebrating 63 years of marriage. Happy anniversary to Russell and Lillian Reed. They've been married for 64 years. Now to some birthdays. Happy birthday to Annie Vokey of St. John's, who just turned 90. Wishing Winnie Cooney of Torbay a very happy 90th birthday today. Happy birthday to Marty Hill of Hermitage, who's celebrating her 95th birthday. She's now in Harbour Breton. Birthday wishes going out to Phyllis Reed of Upper Island Cove. She's turning 92. Happy 96th birthday to Marion Barney of Lansaloo. Birthday greetings going out to Gerald Saunders of Shearstown, who is celebrating his 94th birthday. Happy birthday to Floyd Shears from Rocky Harbor, who just turned 92. Happy birthday to Martha Jane Clark. She's celebrating her 90th birthday. Best wishes to Susie Park, who also just turned 90. Wishing Miriam Vardy a happy 93rd birthday. She's from Harbor Mill and now lives in Grand Bank. It's a 92nd birthday today for Bill Hayter in St. John's. Happy 92nd birthday also to Donald Best of Fogo. Birthday greetings to Annie Burke of Grand Falls, Windsor. She turned 92 yesterday. Happy birthday to Margaret Spencer of Marystown. She's turning 92 on Tuesday. Happy 98th birthday tomorrow to Annie Boland in St. John's. Wishing Mary Genge Bowers in Corner Brook a happy 98th birthday today. Happy birthday to Carl Gillette from Happy Valley Goose Bay, who's turning 90 on Sunday. And birthday greetings going out to Josephine Mooney in St. John's, who turns 99 on Tuesday. Oh, fantastic. Another fine crowd. Congratulations once again. All right, so we're looking to the weekend now, Sunday and beyond. Any warm-ups coming or any more snow squalls? What's in store?
Well, the snow squalls will end tomorrow morning for the most part. We may see some linger on the west coast, but as we head into Sunday, another warm-up is on the way. Not quite as dramatic, that's for sure. But let's take a look at what's going to happen. So we'll start to see some of that mild air move in through the overnight period for the southwest coast, and then eventually you see that southerly flow return, and we will see some showers skirting the south coast of the island, including the Avalon, as we head through the day on Sunday. Now, up across Labrador, you will see things clear out through the day, but your temperatures are going to stay quite mild as well. Back up above zero for central and coastal areas of Labrador, at least the south coast. The north coast and Lab West, you're going to stay into the minus teens, but you will see lots of sunshine. Now, temperatures across the island will sit anywhere from 3 to about 6 degrees through the day. And again, the chance of some showers, but the best chance of seeing the sun will be for the west coast as well as the northern peninsula through your Sunday. Now, as we head into Monday, that area of low pressure or little disturbance will stay to the south. We should actually see some clearing skies to start the day on Monday. The other thing is we will see the winds eventually ease as well, or stay quite light through the day, thanks to an area of high pressure that will move in. This is also why we're going to see those clearing skies. But if you take a look at your temperatures, we're going to start to see them dip back down below zero up across Labrador, minus teens still for the north, and some flurries will likely move in as the day goes on through your Monday. Now, as far as the island is concerned, like I said, some sunshine, but for the first half of the day, probably still going to see the chance of some showers and maybe even some flurries for the Avalon before that area of low pressure finally departs, or that little disturbance finally departs. But temperatures will be hovering near or below zero, and a little bit warmer than that, though, along southern areas of the island, anywhere from about 2 to +4. But the long-range forecast showing that once we see that cool down on Monday, another warm up to towards the middle of the week, where we're looking at some sunshine for Tuesday, actually looking quite nice. Another day of melting, that's for sure. And then for Wednesday, some shower activity will move in with a daytime high around +6. Now for central Newfoundland, you're looking at that warm up a little bit, a couple of degrees warmer anyway than we'll see in the east, but you're still looking at that potential for some showers on Wednesday. We may see a period of gusty winds as well, so we're going to keep an eye on that one. And for western Newfoundland, similar forecast by the time we get into Wednesday, but you'll note your temperatures will drop Wednesday night. Now for eastern Labrador, you're looking at some flurries on Tuesday, either flurries or showers on Wednesday. But again, look, your overnight lows dipping back down into the minus teens. And for western Labrador, you'll see that warm up on Tuesday, but drop back down by the time we get into Wednesday. Here's our lovely weather photo today. This is a great shot of Harbour Breton. This is Lover's Lookout, according to Gracie.
Oh, lovely.
Lovely shot there. Thank you so much for that. And if you have any beautiful weather photos to share with us from the weekend, you can send them to nophotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, that is a gorgeous shot. Thank you so much for that, Gracie. Just lovely. I can see why they call it Lover's Lookout.
Lovely shot.
And I really enjoyed your explanation earlier in the show about coming in like in like a lion, out like a lamb with March. And I guess so March did come in like a lion.
Yeah.
So
who knows if it's going to go out like a lamb. Although the long-range forecast is showing that most of Atlantic Canada should be sitting above normal for March. So we shall see what happens.
Yeah, it certainly does feel like it's warming up a little bit. A lot of above zero temperatures there.
I'll take it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. All right, that's it for us. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a great weekend.
Good night.